I come to open a wound. We are located in a world which is full of hidden dungeons. These are places where adventurers can find riches and increase their power level, but even the risk involved in entering one of these is great, so the survival rate is almost zero. This is where our protagonist, Noir, enters, a boy who, while he was exploring a dungeon, heard the voice of a girl in his head. This guided him to a room where his body was. But before continuing, we go back a little to know the life of our protagonist. A day before going to the dungeon, Noir woke up with the happiness of starting his first day in the library. However, when he came down from his room, his father told him that he no longer has a job because the Viscount's son got in the way. In theory, Noir belongs to a family of nobles, the baronet, but in the pyramid of the aristocracy are considered almost commoners, so they are treated as such, despised and humiliated by the other nobles. The news that he was left without a job did not please Noir, but he avoided conflict, so he asked his father if he had any idea where they were hiring. Just at that moment, Alice appeared, his sister, who wanted to take action and break someone's face. After convincing him not to do it, she suggested to her brother to take the Heroes Academy exam. This would not give them money immediately, but if he manages to graduate, he would get the title of Scalp and could join a guild. Our prota was not sure whether to apply or not, but while thinking about it, he ran into his childhood friend, Emma. This belongs to a family of respectable and wealthy nobles, but his parents are friends of the Noir, so they get along well with each other. Emma was going to be his co-worker, so when she found out he got fired, she was sad. First, because she is in love with him and wanted to spend time with him, and second, because she found a way to use her ability without suffering pain. In this world, all people are born with a magical ability. Nori's ability is Great Sage. Basically, he can ask an old man who is in his head about anything and he will give him the answer. However, when using it, he suffers a headache so strong that makes him wish for death. Well, investigating, Emma discovered that the pain can be relieved with a kiss, because that is what the Great Sage did when he was still alive and used his powers. Although it sounds strange, Noir believes him, so Emma asks him if he wants to test it. Our hero believed that she only wants to help him to treat the pain, so he accepted. "Oh daddy, you are going to die alone." The girl took him to the balcony of the church to make it nice, and they kissed. When Noir used his powers, and after another kiss, he discovered that Emma was right. When Noir used his ability, he asked the wise man what he could do to increase his powers and thus pass the hero's exam. The old man indicated him the direction of the dungeon of the beginning and gave him the key to enter it. Now, if returning where we stayed, Noir discovered that the girl to whom the voice belongs is Olivia Servant, a famous adventurer of 200 years ago that was believed dead. This one tells him that in one of his trips he discovered the dungeon, but when entering he fell in a trap and was trapped forever without possibility of being released. After asking her how she got there, Olivia offers her her abilities as a gift because she would be there for a while and would not use them. Noir accepts, and in this way she obtains the abilities to create, grant and edit. Olivia explains that to use each one she will have to spend a specific amount of PV, basically life points. After the explanation, Olivia sends Noir to practice with his new abilities. Thanks to this, he learns to believe and discovers that he can acquire new abilities. Being the first time he uses his new powers, Noir ended up being very tired. So when he returned home, he asked his sister to lie on his lap to recover some PV. She accepted because she is a Suscona. The next day, Noir learned two things. Number 1, to create the ability Analytical Eye that allows him to analyze and obtain information from any living being, and number 2, he discovered that his teacher is a cheater and has no shame of anything. After this, she met with Emma to approve her new skill, which was a success, but this excited Noir, who, seeing that her friend had a sore shoulder, decided to use Create to reduce her plot. The girl didn't like this at all and forced him to remove it. The days passed and the night exam arrived. The first test consisted of collecting materials from monsters in groups of 3. Because of his social status, Noir was almost left alone, but it was because Emma appeared. The girl's goal is to be with him, so she will also take the exam. The third member of her group was Lenore, a girl who looked down on Noir and only saw him as a nuisance. He didn't complain and instead concentrated on getting the materials, since they only had until the next morning and the materials can be bought. Our protagonist went to the dungeon to hunt a monster and get something decent. What he didn't expect was that just on the 3rd floor he would find death. Yes, as it sounds. Even though it was 60 levels stronger than him, Noir did not hold back and managed to beat it. Using strategy, the next morning the results were presented, and of the 5 groups that would qualify, our prota did it in first place in breaking a historical record in passing. Everything was astonishment, joy, and happiness. After this,